be blessed. Talk to the choir. It's your season to be blessed. God made you a promise. You stood the test. They're gonna open a window and pour you out a blessing. It's your season. Your season to be blessed. All right, my turn. I'm blessed in the city. I'm blessed in the town. Blessed on my way up and on my way back down. God's gonna open the window and pour you out a blessing. It's your season to be blessed. All right, here's what I want. It's your season to be blessed. God made you a promise. You stood the test. He's gonna open a window and pour you out a blessing. It's your season. Your season to be blessed. All right, come on. I'm blessed in everything that I do. I'm blessed and abundant, just like you. God's gonna open a window and pour you out a blessing. 'Cause it's your season. Your season to be blessed. Now it's your season to be blessed. Can you hear me? You were promised. You stood the test. You're gonna open the window. Gonna pour you out a blessing. 'Cause it's your season to be blessed. It's your season. It's my season. It's your season. It's I'm just right over here. It's his season. It's your season. I mean, right here, right now, this moment here, this time, right now, it's your season. I see it coming right into it. Yeah, you come too far to give up now. It's your season to be blessed. It's my season to be blessed. It's your season. We've been for the night, but it's fun. Everything's gonna be alright. It's your season. It's your season. Your season to be blessed. It's your season. That's right. Your blessings coming this way. I can see it now. You hold on to the rain. You held on to the pain. Now it's your time. It's my time. It's our time. It's our season. 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 It's your season. It's your season. It's your season to be. Your season to be. It's your season to be blessed.
Let's thank them again. Let's thank the band. And we have special guests here this morning. We have Brian's fan club. Could you please stand? Yeah, Brian, we love you. Yes, we do. We have fan clubs for Sam, for Andre, for Brian, Jonathan, as well as Cole. Oh, why don't we all just take a good deep breath and let it out. Whew. It's just a lot today. That's all I can say. So, my title today is Everybody Needs AA. Awareness and acceptance. You may need AA counseling too, by the way. Don't avoid it if you need it. I think there are many people in this room who say it saved their life. Whatever it takes, whatever it takes. So I'm inspired by Gary Holtz's book, which we've been in for the last couple of weeks, on the secrets of Aboriginal healing, a physicist's journey to a remote Australian tribe. And this book talks about the Aboriginal way of healing, that there is this realignment of body, soul, and spirit. We do not at all deny the science of medicine at all. In fact, we believe in a prayer and a pill. God made the prayer and God made the pill. And we are thankful for that. And any of you that are trying to figure out why in the world does he have a hat on? Well, it's probably to stimulate my mother in heaven, who is just going, I don't believe he is in church with a hat on. Number one. Number two is the two things that are your responsibility when you are the senior minister is that I am the chief cheerleader. All you need to do is give me some pom-poms. And number two is I am always the person who does the ads. So this is an advertisement for next week to wear your Easter bonnet. And let me tell you, I'll wear a different hat next week. Oddly enough, you know, my father never would have gone to church without it. My father would have worn this hat. You know, this is the way he would go in. He wouldn't have walked in church with it on, though. That's his defiant son. See, we look at a prayer and a pill that it is all divine. It's all God. It's all God. All things that are good and beneficial and helpful are all those things that are given by divine love to us. And so we know that, you know, whatever it takes, as long as it is good and it's not taking anything from anybody else, do it. But if it ain't working for you, let it go. Because if it no longer serves you, let it go. Now, we teach that the Spirit is whole, perfect, and complete, and it has an impact on our soul as well as our body. So I'm dealing with the spiritual issues associated with healing. We must be willing, though, in our healing, to deal with any doubts or erroneous beliefs that we have that have created not specifically the condition that we have, but the environment that the condition can thrive in. People want to draw a direct connection between this is my condition and this is my belief. You're probably not going to figure that all out because there's not a direct relationship between it. Nobody wakes up in the morning and say, I have a thought of having MS. I have a thought of having pneumonia. I have that's not what you do. What we are concerned about is we have thoughts that create the environment for all kinds of things to happen in our life. So our spiritual principle this morning is very complicated. So please get out a pen and paper so you can write it down. Our spiritual principle is yes. 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 That's it. Yes. Getting to yes. Not when, not how, but yes. Yes right now. Not when, not how. Yes right now. Because yes is awareness and acceptance in our lives. Gary, the physicist, was told that he was already wheelchair bound, told he had 2 years to live. He ends up in a jazz club, and in the jazz club, there is a naturopath who gives him the information about how to reach out to Aboriginal healers in Australia. By the way, doesn't everybody have one? Doesn't everybody have, an Aboriginal healer in Australia? So, so he realizes he has these issues of coincidence, but he doesn't necessarily know what to do with it. So he goes to his family and his friends and he says, I need you to go with me. This guy's wheelchair bound. Now, regardless to whether or not you believe what he believes or is willing to go through what he's going through, can you love him enough to go with him? That's the difference. That's Reverend Tanya's tribute this morning to Jennifer, is that they've gone through this together. Probably, I don't necessarily believe everything exactly what the other one does, right? But you still go through it together, so your love and your relationship necessarily will motivate you to do some things that you won't necessarily personally agree with, but you love that person and those people enough to go along with it. Believe me, I love you enough to go along with a whole lot. Just take my word for it. But some things you have to go at alone. And that's what Gary had to do. Nobody would go with him. So he sits on a plane for 14 plus hours to move from Southern California to go to Australia, to then get in a truck and travel 8 miles over something we would not call a road, to get to a hut that has no windows and no door, and the bed is a plank of wood. But my question to him and my question to you is, do you really want to be healed? Because your healing may come different than you plan. But are you willing to be open? Do you have a desire for healing? Are you also going to dictate to the Spirit the method and the timeline? Really? You got a lot of nerve, because I don't. I may say, Lord, help, but I'm not going to tell God when and how. But I'll tell God what. Because that's what I have been given, is the idea of what? The path to transformation for all of us can be a journey, and sometimes it can feel that it is lonely, but we are never alone because we are already loved. And even when we don't have the physical aspect of somebody being with us, God is always with us if we're willing to turn our attention inward instead of outward. We are already loved. And as a community, we try to do this together. As I said, I am very weepy today. I'm very weepy. I miss Kim already. I miss her already. And at the same time, I rejoice in knowing that there's everlasting life, but at the same time, I miss her already. And I'm thankful, again, to all of the people who have sat with her and supported her. They didn't do it for me, they did it for her because they loved her. That's what Gary didn't have. Gary didn't have anybody that loved him enough to go through this with him, so he had to go through alone. And if you don't have anybody to go through with you, if you want to go through, you may have to go through alone. But there's nothing wrong, because the Spirit is always with us. Reflect on your life, at how you got here today. Reflect on your life. And I guarantee you, it is a list of coincidences that when you looked forward, you didn't see yourself ending up here. But now that you look back, you find out that you were here. It feels like coincidences, but it's really synchronicity, because things are working together for our good. It isn't that I believe the divine has selected every encounter we have in life and everything we do and makes our decisions for us. I don't believe that. I believe that God is uncontrolling and unconditional love, and provides a path of love and law that if I get in line with love and law, just watch me, baby. My life is going to be blessed, because it's your season to be blessed. But you have to be willing to receive it, and sometimes it can be uncomfortable. Series of coincidences. So how did I get here? I was in Florida. I decided to move to Oregon. I lived on a beach community, and I don't even go outside. So, it was really surprising. But it was beautiful. I lived in Sarasota. Let me tell you, it is breathtaking. But I moved to Oregon. I moved from Florida to Oregon. Let you know your minister is not very smart, okay? I did not look at the weather in Oregon, okay? I didn't look at it at all. But I've always wanted to build a heart hospital. That was my expertise, is that I ran heart programs, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to build a heart hospital. It was a fantasy, and I got to be a part of building an entirely new campus. It was a wonderful experience to have. But at the end of my mother's life, my mother and my stepfather were still in Michigan. I was living in Oregon. It would take me to leave at 7 p.m. at night, get on a plane, go to Seattle, fly overnight from Seattle to Michigan to be there by 6 o'clock in the morning to see my mother at the end of her life. And so I decided, just in my head, that I need to go east, even though I love my job and what I was doing. Out of the blue, I was called by the senior VP of Human Resources of St. Joseph's Hospital in Lexington. I had worked with him in Florida. He said, I'm looking for somebody to be the vice president of cardiac services. Do you know anybody that you would recommend unless you're willing to come? And I said, well, I do need to be back east because I could fly for an hour to Detroit from Lexington. And if my parents were at their second house, they would have just been in Memphis. I could get there in an hour. So here I go. I get to Lexington, Kentucky. We walk in, and I know the entire executive team. How? How did I know them? Well, few years previous to this event, like 5 years before, when I was in Florida, this hospital had sought me out and sent a headhunter to get me to come to Lexington. So they had invited me to work in Lexington 3 times, and I had turned them down. The 4th time, I needed to be close to my mother, and I said yes. I knew when to say yes, but I knew this entire team. How could this be? He had gone there when I left Florida. He left and went to Lexington. And so you think that there's a bunch of coincidences and it all doesn't make sense and that kind of thing, but only the Spirit can work it together for your good. Because when I decided to leave Oregon, here was my thing. It's like, yes, Spirit, I'm going to go take care of my mother. But when I come back to the West Coast, I'm going to Northern California. Not because the Spirit told me to come here, because it was warm and dry. Can the church say amen? Mm-hmm. So I had been in Florida in humidity. I had gone to Oregon with mold. And I decided I was going to Northern California. So I go to Lexington. I stay in Lexington. I was there. Unbelievable experience while I was in Lexington. Gave me some real serious challenges. Lord knows I needed by the time I got here. But nonetheless, it's a story all of its own. I moved to Denver because I'm closer to the West, right? So I wait. A recruiter calls me and says, Rick, there's this job in this place in Northern California. You might be interested in, headhunters call you all the time. And I'm like, I'm not interested. And the title of the job didn't stimulate me at all, but I decided to go to the website for Sutter Health. And there was my job, the job I do, that they didn't have before, and I was the first one. And it's not because I'm special. It's just because I have always believed what I was taught, that my good is never lost. And even though I have to walk in faith in life going forward because I can't figure out every step I need to take and every decision I need to make, and people tell you it's a mystery, you've got to find your calling and you got to find where God wants you to be. I don't believe that. I believe God is with me anywhere I go. But all of those coincidences get worked together for my good. I walk into this place. I am here at 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning, the day before my interview, because I'm not living no place where I don't have a tribe. I don't care. I don't care how good the weather is. I got to have a place where my people are. I come here at 9 a.m. I take the job. Within 10 years' time, I'm your senior minister, and none of that was planned. So your issue of coincidences in your life, even the coincidence that you are here this morning, or the conversation you had this week that prompted you to come, or the problem you had this week that prompted you to come, or the news story that you heard that prompts you to now come to church again, whatever it is, Whatever those coincidences are, God works together for your good. When you look forward, you operate in faith. When you look back, you think about it in gratitude. There is nothing for you to do but look back in your life and be thankful. Because even the things in life that were not good and we didn't desire and we didn't want them, God can still make it good. It can make it good. But we don't see that underlying the coincidences is the eternal love of God. And if you get in line with love and law, you will have a beautiful life. And you don't know where you're going to end up. I was not thinking about this. This doesn't make any sense at this point in time in my life that this is what I would do. But I can't think of doing anything else. I hope she's not here. My boss's wife comes to church here. We are sitting in San Francisco the first time I meet her, and we're chatting. She said, "Oh, I heard you're a minister." I said, "Well, you know, why does my boss tell everybody that?" Yes, I am. She goes, yeah. She said, "I only liked one church that I ever visited." And I said, "Where was that?" She said, "Mile High in Denver." And I said, "Well, you know, they are part of us. We're part of the same association." And so she likes it here, okay? My point is that I couldn't have constructed this life if I had tried. If I had written the story, I'm not sure you would have been in the story. I'm not sure. I'm sure I would have written the story on a television camera and there are 30,000 people in the room. But somehow being in that environment, I don't think they can handle me talking about Last Dance and leaning up against the bar. Nor would they allow me to stand up in church with a hat on. But see, I'm at home. I can do whatever I want. I tell people at work, they go, "You're a minister?" I go, "Yeah." I said, I am the authority on everything there. I'm just right. At least in my own mind. So you think it's coincidence. It's not coincidence. It all is working together for your good. But can you look for the good? Connect the dots, people. Connect the dots. It's not an accident that is purposeless. It is a purposeful accident. That God works together our life in a way that we can absolutely not imagine. What Rose, the spiritual practitioner to Gary in this story, said, why does all of these things happen? She says it is to bring out your gift. Awareness and acceptance and the idea of getting to yes and the experiences that we go through are there for our gifts to be revealed. Gary says, my MS, how in the world could I be a gift? How in the world can I be a healer, considering the fact that I need healing myself? She said, well, just hang in there. That every experience in your life is an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to learn, but can we learn from it? Even some of those experiences, which are a little painful, but can we learn from them? So she says, well, you do realize that you're a healer. He says, but I haven't healed myself yet. She said, you haven't got done yet. Now, he did leave. He did leave Australia. He left walking, by the way. Southern California and the Holtz Aboriginal Clinic for Healing exists right now in Southern California. Physicist, only believes in science, ends up running a clinic for healing. What is wrong with us? There is nothing too hard for God. And the creativity and the level of creativity that exists in the divine, there is no telling what you can do. There is probably enough talent in this room to transform the world. Because the Spirit operating within each one of you can make amazing things happen. Most stars will tell you, most people who are performers will tell you, it just kind of happened. I didn't know, I didn't really understand. I just like to dance. I just like to act. I just like to act out. whatever those circumstances are. I never could figure out what this voice was for. Well, you know, people say, do you do radio? And I'm like, radio, what's that? But I do get to use my voice, right? I get to use everything that has happened in my life, I get to use right here for your benefit. It's not for you only. It's for the people that you encounter. So let me return to our spiritual principle. Let's rehearse it all together. Our spiritual principle is yes. Not when, not how, but yes. And so it is. Scariest prayer you will ever pray is yes. You never know where you're going to end up. I am just giving thanks and praise. I'm giving thanks and praise that I've learned that I can walk through life fully in faith, trusting that love and law are always there to hold me up. And that goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. I know that the goodness that I have planted and my good is never lost. So I can go through life and just be thankful, being grateful for every experience and everything about who and what I am. Because it is God that takes all of who and what we are and work it together for good. So I'm believing this, I'm rejoicing, and I am believing for you. And for anybody in this room or anyone that hears my voice that needs healing, I'm not a healer, but I certainly believe in it. Because I've seen it entirely too many times in my life. And sometimes healing is complete in our transition. Yet we are never out of the presence of the divine. So I'm just giving thanks. I'm giving praise. And I can release my word. I can let it go. And so it is. Amen. Amen.